Evbo. So do you have anything you want to tell us?
Oh, I'm the Zodiac killer.
Oh, well.
Did I not? I did say it before. I guess nobody was listening.
I guess there were warning signs. So yeah, we're having a tabletop episode with itsevbo because we haven't done that yet, and that really needs to have happened. So
I'm very excited.
Cheers.
Let's talk.
How did we come to this moment in time?
Oh, I almost just choked on something like real bad.
Oh gosh.
no!
Oh no! Oh
That's
no!
That was quite bad.
Why don't you? First question, I guess.
Just
describe this moment.
This very moment that we're in right now.
To everyone, how did we get here?
Okay, so I was playing Left 4 Dead with my good friend Evo, aka Smash Big Rocks, aka Hannah, and we're having a nice time playing Left 4 Dead 2, and I had my volume set exactly where I wanted it. And then Discord yelled at me real loud because my two friends, Jake and Josh, decided to call. They did the thing, the thing that psychopaths do, which is that they hit the button that says ring instead of just like sending a text or something. So Discord did decide to scream at me and say that my friends were calling me, and I started screaming because I didn't know how else to react.
You're not really wrong. Yeah.
So I said, my friends from my Sunday Night Campaign are calling me, and they don't usually do that, so I think something's wrong. So I'm going to go make sure that they're okay and that something didn't happen. And she said, it's okay, that's fine, I got to go eat. So I'm like, okay. And then I hop in here, and my friend Jake over here says, would you like to tell our friend Ebba why we called him here today? And then you all said, yeah, because it was funny.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah,
that's exactly why.
Yep.
And it was pretty funny. I'll admit that.
Yeah, I'm just tweeting. So Josh, you fill in the sound.
And I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, it was funny because, like, of course it was funny, but it was funny because we were literally just talking about what intro we were gonna do for our video, and trying to figure all that out, and. We were talking about Ron Swanson impressions, actually. That's so just so you know, That's how we got to you, because I guess maybe spoiler, there might be a Ron Swanson intro for one of our upcoming videos. And like I was kind of like trying to do an impression, and I said we should just get Evan to do it. And Jake was like, oh, we should just get Evan to do it. And then he texted, and then we just called you. And I think you.
Then we became stalkers.
Yeah, I'm doing my Ron Swanson right now. That's the trick, is you kind of got to get it's the eyebrows. If I had my hair done the right way, I actually look a fair amount like Mr. Swanson. I'm drinking aged scotch, as is appropriate when you are playing the part of Ron Swanson.
That the Lagavulin, right? That's his.
It is Lagavulin.
That's Scotch of choice. And is that what you're drinking?
This is not Lagavulin.
Oh,
this is not Lagavulin. I couldn't find Lagavulin the last time I went, so I got Tomnavolin, which is another Scotch.
Well, there you go. That sounds made up. That sounds made up.
It does sound made up. It sounds like the Target.
Okay.
Target brand.
All right, Evan.
Trader John DeVulin.
Like it is Target, just like Target brand Scotch, and it was I like interrupted myself halfway through.
Oh yeah.
It's like, so what are you drinking? Tomnavolin.
Yeah.
Tomnavolin.
So Evan, this might be one of the only times that the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup movement outnumbers.
I'm very happy about that, because we are both correct.
I don't even think it's close.
I don't have strong feelings about that. Like, I think Reese's Peanut Butter Cups are good the way they are.
Sure.
But I love the dark chocolate non-named brand versions.
Well, so that's the thing, isn't it? Is that I think that's the argument that we were trying to make that everyone was misunderstanding, which is I'm not saying that Reese's is trash. I'm saying it's fine, and that's as far as it goes, because it does just sort of taste like sugar and palm oil, and it's gritty. The peanut butter's gritty.
It's like drinking peanut butter sand.
It's a really it's an interesting experience that you could only have with a Reese's peanut butter cup. And I think that might be why I like it.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. It's almost like a nostalgia thing.
I think that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But then when you have like a real one, or like I've only gotten to have one homemade Reese's. I've only got to have one homemade peanut butter cup, and it was the experience. It was full on King Cullen the experience. You won't find it anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
That's a regional joke.
I was gonna say, I was like, I have heard
nobody
that.
will get. There's like 2 people that laughed really hard just now.
Exactly.
Something's telling me that Nia is one of them.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
She knows about King Cullen.
Definitely. They have that over there.
I don't think they do.
My mic just decided to be like, no. And then suddenly you guys started coming out of the computer screen, and I was like,
coming out of the computer screen.
So Josh has his...
That's not me!
Where's my knife? Where's my prop knife? So it's good timing that,
Dang, Michael to the rescue.
I know.
These things have, honestly, I can't say it enough. Michael, I think you're in here right now. Thank you so much for these headsets, man. It's like unreal. And this is like the perfect thing for this, because like these mics, I love these mics. I don't need to use this all the time. And now I can do whatever I want. My mic's still right next to my face.
You have your options.
It's so good. And I have a little light that I can see out of my periphery, so I know if my mic is muted without having to like look at anything. It's awesome.
I didn't know that was a thing.
It turns red.
See that? Look at this little guy.
That's really cool.
It's dope.
Michael's busy playing a game. But yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, this is obviously something we've done plenty of times with Blue Dragon RPG, although now I believe it is John in Space now. Is that right?
John and Ava in Space.
John and Ava in Space. And of course, Hidden Nerdy Side. And we have been fans of our good friend itsevbo here for literally years at this point. It's true. I mean, it seemed like a skeptical headcock, but it was anytime I remember Josh was like, "Are you busy right now?" And I was like, "Oh," and he's like, "You have to go to twitch.tv/itsevbo because just my friend Aaron is there and his friend Evan is there, and they're just you just have to see it. You just have to see it." And to me, this is the glory days of Twitch when I think back to these times, and to quote Yoda, "It brings warm feelings to my heart."
I actually have to bring something up, and I have to confirm if this was you, because this is a thing that I remember, and I can't remember if this was you. Did you meet me and Aaron at a Dave & Buster's one time?
Me?
No, Mr. Josh.
I don't think so. Was it like a planned thing, or was it like ran into you?
I don't think so. I think it was something like maybe he had posted on social that he was going to Dave & Buster's, and then it may not have been you. It may have been somebody else. But for some reason, my brain just now was like, "Oh my God, was that Josh?" Because this would be a hell of a story if it was.
I don't. Oh man.
If no, then like I think you would remember. Well, okay, I might have to tell the story for it to jog a memory.
Yeah. Why don't you tell the story? Because like I'm not usually the type of person I'm very introverted. And so I'm not usually the type of person to see a Facebook post and be like, or any post and be like, "Oh, maybe I'll go there and say hi." Like,
I'll say, I don't think that was the case. I think it's that it like popped up on whoever's phone it was, and they were already there, and they were like, "Oh man, I should go say hi," and then maybe like an exchange of messages happened, and then went to go say hi.
Oh man, there's a strong possibility of that.
Okay,
please tell the story.
If this jogs a memory, then get ready, because this was like one of the worst days of my life. So I was at Dave & Buster's with my cousin Aaron, and anyone who has seen my stuff before might know who he is. It's been a couple years since Aaron's been a bigger part of my my content. But I basically started itsevbo, and I got like maybe 2 episodes in doing it like solo before I was like, I think this needs to have a second person to work. And my cousin Aaron came by, and it immediately just clicked. We had an absolute blast with it. So we'd been doing it for a little while. We did Twitch, I think only a couple times. It was like right after we started doing Twitch, and our YouTube channel had a lot of videos, and I'm not going to say it was successful at all. But it was, you know, got some views on each one, and everything was going okay. So we decided to go to Dave & Buster's for one thing or another. And somebody that Aaron knew, don't remember, it's a small possibility that this was Josh, approached Aaron, and they started talking. And I was, you know, off doing my own thing, maybe getting a drink or something. I don't exactly remember. And this person came up to me, because I had not seen any of this happening yet, and said, "Hey, man, this is going to be a weird question, but are you Evbo?" And I was like, yeah. And this is like the dream moment for like an early content creator, to like get recognized.
Yeah.
Exactly. So this stranger, this person I've never met before, to my knowledge, came up and said, Are you Evbo?" And it's like, yeah. It's like, oh my God, I absolutely love the Yoshi's Island videos. It's so funny. Like, you guys, oh my God, you guys are so much fun, and I love your stuff. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. That's so cool. And then the person said, I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding, man. Aaron put me up to that. Aaron put me up to it, and then just walked away.
This sounds like a Corey story.
I was like, what? And Aaron was like, did he just do what I think he did? I was like, yeah, he said that you told him to do that. He was like, I did not tell him to do that. Like,
no.
Okay. It was like absolutely crushing.
Yeah, that's not Josh at all. I can even just say that right off the bat.
Yeah, that definitely wasn't me. Because here's the thing: I actually was a huge fan of the Yoshi's Island videos, and the oh shoot, what? Can you hum the tune of the Yoshi's Island song if you know it?
Yeah.
Hey, my name is freaking Yoshi. We're on an island. I'm carrying an infant boy. For some reason, no one gives that a second thought.
That's irresponsible. Yep. Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Our little tunes have been creating their own little subculture, and it makes me very happy.
Oh my gosh. I have this I still have that pinto bean sticker on my kitchen table. Hey, Skelly. And every time Kim gives me I just want to, like, you know, just mess with her. I just slide it forward because I drive her nuts by just going around the house going pinto 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 pinto.
Oh, I love it.
And she just looks at me with that woman eyes look that I know I'm in trouble. It's like, all right.
No, see, that makes me happy. Like that makes me happier than someone seeing me and saying like, "Oh, are you Evbo?" Like that. Sometimes I'll just be hanging out with friends, and one of them will just be like, "Rest in pepperoni with pepperoni cheese." Like, I don't know. It just warms my heart.
I just have felt like I remember from that moment, and I have always felt like there was just something infectious about the way you and Aaron would create content together. You had such great chemistry, you know, and every single time I would be there, I'd be like, it says there's 12 people here. How come it's not 120? It says there's 17 people there. How come it's not 170? Like, it was every single time. Like, I never understood it. So Twitch, if you ever do watch this, get on your discoverability and make it happen, because frankly, you were missing out on some of the best content personally that I have ever consumed. And I'm not saying that to blow smoke up your behind. I actually mean that.
No, yeah, that's I 100% complete. I know you probably feel very uncomfortable about this. I'm sorry, but I 100% totally agree that itsevbo. I mean, I know you don't stream as much anymore, but so we'll just say back then, like, literally the best channel on Twitch, the most entertaining channel on Twitch. Like, I was on Facebook one day, and I still don't go on Facebook, and I never went on Facebook back then. And I see Aaron post like something about Twitch, and I was like, Aaron's on Twitch? I was like, I didn't know he was a nerd, because I didn't really know him that well. Like, he played in the band at my school, and I
he's a secret nerd.
Yeah.
He's a secret nerd. He's got this insane charisma where he could literally do anything, and you'd be like, yeah, I believe that. Like, anything.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
But I clicked on it and followed, and like the follow song, I was just like,
choo choo, follow train. I was like, yeah, na 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 na. I was like, yes.
I would, anytime I saw you guys were streaming, I would like text my friends who also went to high school with Aaron and be like, you guys need to go on Twitch right now, make an account if you don't have one, follow itsevbo, and just watch. And only a couple people did it because that's how people are. But
well, I feel like the difference back then was, I feel like at that point, I don't want to say, I'll just say this. I want to say progress is bad, but there are points where progress takes away from something. And at that point in time, I feel like Twitch and content creation, there was a little bit more of like, hey man, this is the content. Hang out if you like it. You know, everybody, you know, be nice to each other, all that kind of normal stuff. But like now with all these hype trains and these channel points and stuff, and like, if that's your thing, that's totally fine with me. Like I'm old now, so I can get on my cranky rocking chair sitting on the porch saying, get off my lawn. I remember when Twitch was just when you watch someone and you liked it. Like, you know, so there's just something about that, because at that time in my life too, the only game I played, I was just the Destiny fanboy, like complete. Like I was that was just what I did. So, and I don't know if you ever did stream Destiny. If you did, it definitely wasn't a big part of your rotation, I don't think.
I think I did it once.
Yeah, so
it was like, I think actually, you know what? I don't even think I ever streamed it. I think the first video that I ever recorded for YouTube and then scrapped it was a Destiny video. Because I was like, I got to see how it is that you do a Let's Play. So I just recorded for like a half hour or something. I did like one strike or like 2 strikes or something.
Yeah.
And I was trying to talk over it. And I was like, this is the worst thing that's ever been made. And I ended up scrapping it. I tried to edit it and just gave up. This is not worth anybody's time.
But to, just so you know, like for me to go into someone's stream that wasn't playing Destiny at that point in time, like Josh can attest to this, like that says so much. Like it just, I don't really know how to fully describe that. Like,
no, I think I understand. And I think at least back when I started streaming, there was this weird congruence that was happening, which is to say that there were a lot more streamers popping up because streaming like as a hobby and streaming equipment were becoming a lot more accessible. Like you could buy a capture card for like $150 and everybody knew like this is the good card. Like you get an Elgato and you set up an account on Twitch and you get OBS and these are the things that you need and you can get started in like 2 hours and that's it. So there were a lot of new streamers coming up, but they're also watching streams still wasn't that much of like a common thing. Like it was still I would describe it as still being a subculture, where now it's more of just a straight up culture.
Oh yeah, that was definitely I don't want to call it its infancy because, you know, Justin TV in those days, but like it was definitely learning to walk. I think might be a fair point in time.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, it's funny that you say it that way because I always feel like there's a part of streaming and content creation that part of the draw, and I feel like you need to sell you can do this too in the content.
Oh, for sure.
Which is part of why some viewers will latch on. Like I guess we're headed in a very different direction I figured we'd be going, but like there's like a part of it that just feels like disingenuous, I think, and not pure. And so when I would when I would go to one of your streams, I always just felt like these are just two guys that are just really enjoying being silly and playing video games. It's like I never got any weird vibes on that. And so like when Josh and I were putting together a cast for Ancient Relics and Hokey Religions, we had like a dozen or more names or so. And yours is the only one that we were just like, yeah, we have to ask him. Like, this is like, he plays D&D. Like, I love him so much. Like, I have to. Like,
yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, all I was gonna say is just he was first on the list, and both of us were like, how do we start off that conversation? And
yeah, it was so funny.
Like we're nervous.
It honestly is really funny looking back at that now, how like both of us, like myself and you guys, that first conversation, it felt like everybody was like, I don't want to mess this up. Like, what do I say? What if they don't like me? It's
so funny.
And now, like, we're just friends, and we get to hang out and play this game every week, and it's amazing. We get to have like these real experiences with each other. It's the coolest thing ever. Man. Yeah,
I know.
I'll say it. I've said it 100 times. I'll say it again. Is I feel very blessed that the way that people get brought together sometimes is the most unexpected thing, and how it ends up working out. Like I'll never understand it. It's the coolest thing. Like I think a good example of that is is my new best friend Evan. Now I say new, but we've been like best friends for a couple of years now. And we met through our friend Steve, who is from England, through Twitch. And yet both of our names are Evan, and we both lived in the same town a block away from each other.
That's crazy.
And we met through Twitch through an Englishman.
So that's hysterical, but
yeah,
in a somewhat, and not quite that extreme, in a somewhat of a similar fashion. That's how Josh and I met.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that. It was through you mentioned it. It was through a certain was it a podcast or was it a certain Twitch channel?
Yes. Yes is the correct answer.
Okay. I thought it was something kind of both. So that sounds right. I know this is like, let's talk about that.
So it's just we'll give you the speed run of it. This is my speed run. So
you just got to beat 4 minutes. That's the world record.
That's an itsevbo joke. You guys got to watch his channel. Anyway, so Jake and I, if you know the Worst Radio Show, which has now stopped, but it was part of Rare Drop, which if nobody else knows, Rare Drop is the channel that we stream Ancient Relics and Hokey Religions on Sundays, 7 p.m. So Jake and I both knew everyone that was involved with Worst Radio Show back before they hit it big, if you want to say. And,
they were the #1 podcast in Japan.
Yeah, the #1 podcast in Japan.
Self-proclaimed.
I like that.
But
it's very charming.
But like my brother played in bands with a lot of those guys way back in the day, and I knew them a little bit, mostly through my brother Jake. Jake knew them all pretty well. And they had a podcast called Podcast Infinity, which was a Destiny gun, Pocket Infinity.
It was the fusion rifle that just kept doing its thing.
Yep. And we were talking in chat about, or they were talking about, like, what was the most difficult activity in Destiny at the time, which was Skolas. Prison of Elders, it was like the highest level thing. It was a level 35 activity, and you could only go up to like level 32, something like that.
It was I remember, because your max level was 34, so if something was higher than you dealt like half damage and you take more damage, so it was like, it's delta scaling, you can never overcome this hindrance. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, that's true, but really not that bad.
Yeah. But Jake and Monkey, son of Monkey was his name.
Yeah.
They just every weekend they would do that. They got it down to science. They'd take other people through it. They were just Sherpas. And we were in chat, and I was just like, I was like, oh yeah, I've never done it. It's the last thing I need to do like my triumphs and whatever. Like, I guess I probably just won't be able to do it. And Jake was like, oh, we can help you with that. I was like, oh yeah, that'd be awesome. Then we did it, and like easily, I think we wiped once.
Yeah, but wasn't it because you were being funny or something, or wasn't there, or you were considering it or something like that?
I think I was considering Leroy Jenkinsing it.
Something, whatever it was.
I don't remember. It was something silly.
I think I even was just like, just kind of follow what we're doing. You'll be okay. Like, it was like, it wasn't that complicated or anything like that.
But yeah, we did that, and I was like, wow, yeah, you guys are better than average. Was the compliment that I gave them.
I was like, we didn't really do anything special. Well, you're better than average. I was like, thanks, I think.
And then, like way later down the road, we ended up being in a clan together, and then at some point he said something about like how he played tabletop RPGs, and I was like, tabletop RPGs, like I've always wanted to play those, but like I never have before.
Yeah.
And then they actually played like 7 minutes from my house. And they invited me to play, and he'd like the place that you worked at where you met like Kevin and all those guys is also like 5 minutes from my house. And I'd been there a bunch of times. Like, yeah. So then we hung out, and the rest is history. But
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it just took off. And then eventually JNJtabletop was born. It's funny, everybody's
journey. The world
is
better for it. Yeah, for sure.
So originally, how did you get into D&D for your first delve into everything?
Okay, yeah, no, that's a really good question. So my first, I had been wanting to play D&D for a really long time. And I think a lot of people have that same sentiment. And really the hard part is if nobody that you know plays it, that means that somebody needs to learn it and then get everybody else involved. And that's pretty hard to do sometimes. And especially back when I was, interested in it. So I was like getting really into the idea, and then I heard about the show Harmon Quest, and I know a lot of people don't like talking about Harmon Quest because they're very liberal with how the game works, but that's the whole point. I don't care. But it was just such a charming idea. I was like, oh man, so they play D&D, and then they hand it over to a team of animators, and like that's so clever. So I watched the first season of it, and I loved it, and I ended up just tweeting out that day that I was like, man, like Harmon Quest just got me so in the mood. Like I really got to play D&D at some point in my life. And my buddy Evan responded. This was before we were too close. Like we only had I think we hung out at a party like one time, and that was it. And the whole reason for that actually was so that we could both meet our buddy Steve from England.
Yeah.
So he was coming into the area to check things out and meet some of the people that he's been talking to online, and it was awesome. And I want to say that was one of the only times that we had really all gotten together. But he was like, hey, so me and my friends play on Friday nights. If you want to come by, we'll write you up a quick character, and we'll, see if you like it. So absolutely terrified out of my wits because I am an anxiety-ridden introvert. I showed up, and we went down into the basement. Just it's like everything is so stereotypical.
Cliche.
Went down into the basement. There were bags of Funyuns and Pop'ems all over the table. People brought like beer and whatever else, and it was an absolute blast. I fell in love with it. They wrote me up a gnome rogue named Porgus, and something about that name sounded like vaguely Eastern European or Russian. So I gave him that accent. His name was Porgus, and he was assassin.
Oh, as soon as you did that, they were probably like, okay, this guy's awesome.
I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. So like I had the sheet, and it had all the skills you could do. So it's like, okay, you get to town. What do you do? And I was like, can I do sleight of hand to try to trick people to give me money? I'm like, I didn't get it. But I was trying my best, and everybody was super supportive, and like, there were very few moments where they said no, and everything was just very like. I also tried not to overstep my bounds. I was just excited to like try something new. And that night, I went on Amazon. I bought my player's hand guide. I bought my first set of dice, and I decided to keep that character because I was like, this is really fun. So that was actually, they brought me in as a guest during an actual campaign. It wasn't like a one shot. So we decided to keep that character and wrote the way that like all of a sudden, a gnome pops out of a portal in the middle of the road, ended up becoming canon, and my character had a much deeper story than was initially told, which it now is going to end up spanning like multiverse kind of stuff for the next campaign that he's writing, which is a sequel to that first one that was like 3 years ago.
Sure.
So it was such a cool thing. And then a while later, I was talking to a friend of mine that was also interested in D&D. So I got to provide that same moment of like, if you want to play D&D, I've never done this before, but I would be happy to try to DM it. So if you want to talk to a couple people and let's see.
Hold on. So you went you almost had like a Skelly journey here.
But it wasn't that quick. It wasn't like I played one session and then I DM'd. This was like after I had already gotten like a whole campaign and a third of another one under my belt. I was like, I feel comfortable enough doing this. And I DM'd one session as a one shot, actually to explain the backstory of my character from that campaign. Nice. Which was really fun. It was really fun. So I went from that to like, let's try it. And I was like, I'll probably just, find a book of something that was already made. And then all of a sudden this idea for a campaign just started like running through my head. And I was like, never mind, hold on. No, I got an idea. We'll do this.
Yes.
And I think some of the people that are here would have seen at least a piece of that in the video that I did with John, Shady Penguin, on his channel.
I love that.
Yeah. And obviously I didn't have the rules as down as I do now. So I kind of fudged it a lot and didn't use opportunity attacks, which meant that everyone could be a rogue.
Oh gosh. You know what? It's so funny just because like on that subject, I will be the first person to tell anybody that's playing the game, yes, the rules are important. They're there for a reason. Anybody that tells you otherwise is just silly, and that's the word I'll use. But it's so funny because when I watched that experience, yes, I saw someone who was learning to DM and getting themselves situated with some of the things. But what I saw there was someone who had a passion for this, had loved telling stories, and really wanted to role play, which the RPG is at the end of it, tabletop role-playing games. And that is always going to be the heart of it. So, like, if you're wondering about being a dungeon master or being a player, and you're like sitting there thinking, I don't know the rules. Like, you even still reference, I didn't do the opportunity attacks. Like, everybody's a rogue now. It's like, okay, so you made a mistake. You did you told a compelling story together that I thoroughly enjoyed. It was like an hour and a half or something like that, if I remember correctly. And I was like, I kind of want to know what happens because that's a pretty messed up uncle. I forget the guy's name, but I wanted to punch him in the face. Like I envisioned finding him and punching him in the face. Like,
yeah. And sadly, that story, I don't know if it's ever going to be resolved. I think I've talked with you guys about it. There's a couple of reasons for that. But that's exactly what it was, and I think I know that more now than I did then. It was more about getting to tell a story together. And that was the most exciting thing for me. And playing pretend, like as goofy as it sounds, just getting together with a group of people and playing pretend. And what it reminded me of, in a way, was like, I guess, like it loosely, it reminded me of like in middle school or high school and doing like a play. And what I mean by that is when you're all getting together and doing something that's really uncomfortable, like you're all just putting yourself out there and doing something stupid, but there's passion in it, and there's like talent and heart. I think like you get a glimpse into what makes somebody tick, and everyone having that tightness. It's so easy to get close to people when you do that. Like if we weren't playing D&D, but we were still, like let's say getting online, like playing games and chatting and stuff, we'd still be friends. But I feel like there's this closeness that comes from all of us like creating these incredible cinematic intense moments of emotion and drama and joy and sadness and all of it, like the whole spectrum, and we get to do this together. Like we've created something, and even if nobody else got to see it, we did, and that's that's the heart of it for me.
Absolutely,
that's what I love about D&D.
And it's like I've mentioned this before in one of the videos. I don't remember which one, but it's like it's such a different thing, like playing like ttrpgs, because it's like really, and unless maybe sometimes if you're a musician or if you're an artist or a writer or something like that, maybe that's kind of similar, where you are opening up your imagination and letting other people in. But even that, it's not the same, because you're like, I guess if you're in a band and you're jamming together or whatever, that maybe that's kind of similar.
That's actually a pretty good comparison. But yeah, I'm sorry. Please continue. That was a very good comparison point.
Well, that's what it feels like though, because you're opening up really like your mind and like what's going on inside your head, and you are all just in that collective mind space and just sharing your thoughts and creativity and imagination. And there's almost nothing else where that happens. So it is a very different thing in connection.
It's kind of like the vulnerability breeds intimacy, right? And I know it's funny to see three guys kind of talking about that or whatever you want to call it, but like
there's no shame in it. And I think that's the problem, the pitfall that a lot of people fall into. It's like, oh, that's too nerdy, and it's like, I want you to really break that down. And anytime that I've had that conversation with somebody, it ends with like, okay, yeah, that actually sounds pretty fun.
Because earlier,
it's like, why do you think it's nerdy? It's like, oh, it's a bunch of people dressing up. You dress up like an elf and you're casting spells. And it's like, okay, do you like Lord of the Rings? Like, well, yeah, but I'm not going to dress up like an elf. It's like, you don't have to. You don't have to do that.
No.
You go as nerdy as you want to. This was literally a line that at one point I was like, I could never cross into that. Like, that's too far. Once I've gone that far, I can't go any further.
Yeah.
But well, now I know that line is juggling. So.
But earlier, just in this talk, you referred to my new best friend Evan, and that other connection point you have with him is D&D.
Mm-hmm.
There's that moment here, and like I know we've been playing since September. I want to say, Josh, is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Or maybe the last day in August, whatever it was. It was right around there. And like, I know when we started this channel, we were, or even before we started the channel, we were recording Dragon of Icespire Peak. We had Michael and Izzy, and there was just such an instant chemistry between the three players in particular. I was, as a DM for Dragon of Icespire Peak, obviously I was a part of it. But like, there's just something there when it clicks there. Like, there's a lot of things we don't know about you, but I feel like I know who you are because of what we do every Sunday together as a group.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a part of me that's just like, no, Evan. And it's just like a weird thing in that way. But like, I feel like there's just something really deep about that. And it's really cool.
Yeah. And that's exactly right. And there's an irony to that, because most of the time you're talking to their character. And that's nuts.
Yeah.
But there's still something very like revealing about that. It's almost like, in a weird way, I guess it's like, okay, I guess you could say it's like any artist sharing an art, because the connection that I just made is like martial artists. And there's that thing that they'll say, it's like, you don't know somebody until you fight them. And it's like what they're both doing is literally sharing their art with each other, and there's an intimacy to that, even though you're punching each other in the nose. The way he twisted his hand there, I've never seen someone do that before.
But their movements, the decisions they make,
exactly,
the things that they prioritize one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Was one of my favorite things. Extremely light spoiler about a Knights of the Old Republic 2 character. I think forget her name, but the Ichani character who was just like that was the thing. Like you don't know someone until you fight them.
It's funny that like even this whole group is. I mean, Jake, you only met Izzy from playing the game. Same with you, Evan, and I only met Michael from playing the game. I think I've probably played Call of Duty with him before too, but that doesn't.
Yeah, just randomly like, I'm playing with like 5 guys. You'll make 6. We'll have a full squad. Let's go.
Yes, exactly. That's it's just kind of interesting to think about all that stuff.
Yeah, how quickly you grow close to people, because like that blows my mind. If that's true, if we really only started playing in September, I've not known you guys for very long.
Right.
And like I was stressing myself out about like, oh, what am I going to get everyone for Christmas? And of course, because money happened, I only got to get some of you guys things, but not the point. I don't know. It's just so cool how quickly we were able to grow close to each other.
Yeah.
It feels like we've known each other a lot longer than we have. I think that's really cool.
I could not agree more.
Hopefully someday we can all get around an actual table.
I know.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's gonna be a very fun day indeed. Okay, so you mentioned Harmon Quest.
Yes.
But do you consume any other D&D or tabletop RPG content that you feel like inspires you, or like you see something and you're like, I love what they do?
So believe it or not, no.
That's fine.
I've watched a few and not I have to be honest, I haven't even seen a full episode of it, but I've seen a bit of the show that John is in, which is Knights of Evenstar.
Yeah, I've actually seen the first 6 or 7 episodes. It's actually
I got to see the first episode at no, I'm sorry, it wasn't of Knights of Evenstar, it was Torch, which I think might have gotten canceled.
Okay, but I can't speak to that one.
Yes, it was the D&D sponsored show, and I got to see the session 1 at PAX 2 years ago, I think it was.
Ooh.
And it was amazing. It was really cool. No, it was last year. Sorry. It was right before everything closed down. It was like the last thing anyone got to do was go to PAX, and we were all wearing masks and hand sanitizer and everything, and we had no idea what everything was going to come to. But it was so cool, man. It was really good. But I really don't get a lot of D&D content, and I feel very bad about that. I feel a little hypocritical because I like Matt Mercer very, very much. He's an extremely talented man, and I've seen some of what he's capable. Like his one shot with Stephen Colbert was amazing. It was so good.
Oh yeah, that was good. Red Nose Day.
I really haven't seen much stuff.
Sure.
I've gotten to play with my friends, and that's really it.
I think that's really cool. I know, because I mean, Critical Role obviously is kind of the poster child, if you will, for blowing the door open on making D&D content. And you have a style that I think would mesh very well with them, and how much you emphasize roleplay in your portrayal of Echo.
It is kind of funny because your style is very similar to, like, I feel like someone could watch one of your games or watch just you play your character and be like, oh, like he probably got started watching Critical Role. But
not a single episode.
Harmon Quest.
I've never seen it.
I was a Harmon Quest person too, and I've tried to get so many people to watch it, and no one will ever watch. Like when they watch an episode and they're like, that was weird.
It is weird, but I think that's what makes it work. It's very much like, I don't know. it's almost like I really don't know how to describe it because it's really not like it's really not good D&D. I don't know what version they're running because they're not allowed to say. I assume they are playing Dungeons and Dragons. It could be Pathfinder, but after like the first episode, they did not say what game they were playing, and they very explicitly would refuse to say it.
I love
but the
that
rules
so
like I just can't follow. Like I try to like pay attention to it because they make little references to it, like however much damage they're doing and whatever else you see, like pop up little numbers over their heads. But the show is just so charming and it's such a clever idea. Like comedians, I mean actors in general, but comedians make such good role players.
Yeah,
and like a lot of them just have so much fun with it, and then seeing how they translate that with animation in very clever ways. It's satisfying. I would definitely recommend it to anybody, even though nobody has Verve except me. I think I'm the only person who subscribes to Verve.
I stopped, but only because I finished watching Harmon Quest and then I watched it again. Like,
yeah, I only have it for Harmon Quest and my brother and me. Which, by the way, they're coming out with another season. I know nobody knows about them, but I can't recommend them enough. It's a great podcast, and they made a TV show of it, and then they're going to make a second season now, like 4 years later, and I'm very excited about it.
Nice. I'll have to check that out.
Absolutely.
I'm going to drop a lot of names in this here podcast.
But that's great. I mean, the whole purpose of this really is to get to know you and share you with people that happen to come across our channel. You know, we've been enriched and blessed to have you as a part of our lives and our content. And
oh, thank you.
We think you're just a treasure. So.
And you. Y'all are good. Y'all are good boys.
We're good boys.
Spaghetti boys.
Spaghetti boy. That's my go-to. Nobody would have any context for this whatsoever. That's like my go-to name on Jackbox. It's Spaghetti Boy, but misspelled. Misspelled spaghetti with a D.
Yeah.
Spaghetti.
Those Jackbox games. Do you have a particular moment, either as a DM or as a player, that if you were to like try and like you said, you've talked to people who maybe haven't played Dungeons and Dragons before, and you're trying to like, you want to do it because like, is there a certain moment that like pops in your head, like a favorite memory?
So I have one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes is the answer to this.
Yes.
And there's no way that I'll ever run this campaign again because there's no way I could make it work. It was literally I was writing it as I was going. Like I had a beginning and I mean I guess that's any campaign, but so the campaign that I was running, the one that I wrote, it was a little bit Infinity War-y, but it was like unintentional. Like I literally didn't think about it until someone had pointed it out a few weeks in. They were like, "This is kind of like Infinity Stones," because the idea was that there were all these gods that had decided that it's time for the world. It's time for the world to end. Like we've tried to keep it going as long as possible. We just can't keep this up anymore. It has to. We just got to let it run out. And each one of the gods, represented a different aspect of existence. So my favorite god, Kronos, as you would imagine, it was obvious for a reason, but he was the god of time, and each of their temples were themed around that aspect. So his temple began with them walking down a dark staircase. A couple of them had, dark vision, but it was completely pitch black, so they could only see a short distance and only in shades of gray. They see a key in the middle of the room. They kind of like caught a glint of it, and one of them went to go grab it, and a shadowy figure appeared out of seemingly nowhere, looked around confused for a moment, and then ran up and grabbed the key out of the person's hand, ran back to the other side of the room, and disappeared, after which point the lights turned on. And they were like, well, shoot, I guess we got to get that key. They looked through every room, couldn't find the key anywhere. They solved all the puzzles. They got like 2 out of the 3 keys that were needed to open this big door. Couldn't figure it out. Then they realized there were 2 other places that they could put those keys. So they did. They placed them in this spot, and a big plinth came out of the floor. And a pendant that they found in another room fit in that plinth, but there was an inscription. And I believe the inscription said 7 seconds, time enough, perhaps not for most, but maybe for you, or something to that extent. I don't remember exactly the wordage. I could look it up, I guess, but and the player who decided to put the pendant in was exactly the player that I wanted to do so, because she was my most like invested player, and not to be rude, but she was always a little slow to catch on to things, but in a satisfying way, so that when she actually did figure it out, it was this moment of like, oh my God. So I always got the best reactions out of stuff from her. So she did it. She put the pendant in the plinth and disappeared in a flash of blue light. She I'll say she didn't see herself disappear. She saw all the lights go out instantly after a flash of blue light. And she heard some voices coming from wherever it was, the opposite side of the room. She couldn't really tell where she was. I had written down the entire conversation they had walking down the stairs. And I said, "You're hearing some voices, but they're a little muffled."
Oh, this is great.
She said, "Okay, what is it?" And I said, "Okay." And I had her roll perception. She didn't roll too high, so I repeated a couple of the words, but not everything.
Yes.
And she's like, "I don't understand." And then I saw the table, because she was the only one in the room. Everyone else was still where they were. So I see the table slowly have this moment.
Yeah.
And she's like, "I don't understand. I don't understand." And she's like, "What do I see? Like, can I see anything?" And I'm like, "Well, look around, make a quick perception check." And she's like, "Okay." And I'm like, "You look down at your hands and you see what seems to be like, you can't make out your own form. It's almost just like moving shadow." And she's like, "I don't get it." It's like, "All right, you see something glinting, in the middle of the room." Somebody goes over and grabs the thing that was glinting. And then now she hears full on lines like, "Well, I wonder what this key is for." And she has the realization that she was the shadow from the beginning of the temple, had to run over and grab the key, which also involved somebody reacted quickly enough to the shadow in the beginning to fire an arrow. So she had to roll to avoid the arrow, and actually rolled properly. Like, everything worked so perfectly.
Oh my gosh.
And that it was that moment about halfway through that where she was confused and the whole rest of the table is like, "Oh my God." And then the moment where it like, "Oh my God, I go to grab the key." I'm like, "Okay, you do it." It was the most satisfying. Like, it had every possibility of going wrong, every possibility, but they followed it exactly.
As any time travel or loop has that drives my wife nuts. Kim is just like, "I hate time travel when they do that and stuff. Like, I can't take it."
My favorite time travel stuff is where you can't change it. It already happened. So
yes, like you're fighting
like
fate.
The key is gone because the key already got taken, but you have the key because you already took it. So it's like both at the same time, and I love that.
I'm like Kim. I'm just like, I'm a severe overthinker just in general. And when I think about time travel in movies or anything, I just like, I think about it for a second. I'm like, "Oh, yeah." Then I'm like,
"Oh yeah, you fall deep."
Yeah, he's like,
every time.
If they did
that's
this,
what I like,
then
is that the way that setup and payoff happened was a completely clean loop. Like, it could not have gone any better than it did.
Yeah. And you did. I mean, that's a brilliant setup, right? You do a shadow, so it's not quite.
You don't know who it's going to be.
Exactly. So,
yes.
like, what
they fired an arrow. Like, they had the conversations. They fired an arrow. Now I have things that I can repeat, so that if somebody doesn't get what's happening, it's like, wait a minute, I remember this. Why is this so familiar? And then,
which is why I'm kind of. I mean, you were there. I wasn't, but I kind of feel like the execution of it wasn't quite as unknown. Like, you wrote down things that they did. You wrote down things that they said. I mean, this is like, I don't know. It's almost like I'm going to just use a tape recorder and in a way, and just to be able to like that was your method. So like what inspired that? And I'm so curious.
I don't think anything inspired it.
It was
just
it was a time thing, so let's have fun with time.
That's
like,
all it was. I was like,
yeah,
I wanted each temple to have something that really popped, and some of them did, and some of them didn't, because there were some aspects that I couldn't really do a ton with. I did something with nature, which was a lot of fun. Which we don't have to talk about that because then I'll just keep going. But like each one had something, and I wanted time to really pop because I love a good time travel story, and translating that into a tabletop role-playing game I found to be a really interesting challenge, and that was what I came up with. So like I want it to be some kind of loop. I just don't know what that's going to be. So like maybe the whole thing is on a 30-second loop and everything resets after 30 seconds. So or something like that. I was trying to think of a way to make it interesting, and I was like, no, I got it. That's it. I think the first key is the last key.
Yeah.
Is the first key.
I think that's perfect. Like,
yeah. You're saying like everything lined up perfectly. It was just like, yes, but your players, but your players had agency there. What they did mattered because that's what was repeated back to them.
Oh yeah.
I mean, dang, Evan, come on.
I can't be more proud of that. Like that is my pride moment right there. Beside making Mr. Shady Penguin nearly cry. That was quite good. But no, for real, like there's something about setting something up and having it pay off and watching that look where like ending a session and everyone going, oh my God, is so fulfilling. It's unbelievable. The amount of serotonin, I could have died.
Yes.
All of my heart rate was like 3 because it was just so chill.
Yeah.
Having I totally agree that when a session ends that way, like that's just one of the best things. But also, rewinding just a second, having had I think 2 players either tear up or just have very emotional reactions to stuff in the game. I totally agree. Like that's such a fun. It's almost like I didn't know I could do that. Like that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. You know how to work that. Like, I mean, I'm an emotional person. I will say that. And I didn't know that. Like, I mean, I knew that to a certain extent, but I think D&D for me is a really good emotional release because of that. Because I get to, so I am, and maybe there's a way to diagnose this. I don't know, but I have overactive empathy. My empathy is literally out of control. But in a way, this is a really good and safe way to like learn to control that, because I've mentioned it before. When I say I usually don't say I think Echo would. Usually it's Echo wants to do this because Echo lives in my brain somewhere.
Yep.
So I fully can just like get into his brain and know what he's thinking and how he's feeling, and like without giving too much away, Josh, I think, is aware of some of the implications of this. But when we had to say goodbye to Miss Rain, Echo felt some serious heartbreak in that moment, and he was pretty upset, and I did get emotional about it. And then 4 or 5 sessions later, he looks in his bag to get something for the first time in a while, and what does he find? A pair of shoes from Miss Rain of Katsimir. And it was like, man, like you couldn't have planned it better.
Yeah.
Top tier stuff.
I completely agree. Josh has been doing a phenomenal job with Ancient Relics and Hokey Religions. But to the point you just made, Michael, if you're in chat, let me know when this was. But I want to say it was within the last week. We were we were just talking about, I don't know how we got on the subject of talking about you and Echo. And I said, one of the things that I just love so much about the way you do that is I feel like of all of us at the table, you know your character the most. And the way you said that, like you do refer to Echo as a living person. Echo, like, what was it? I think Vale said something about squeamish. Like, oh, Echo got so angry when you said that, or something to that effect. And I was like,
yeah,
oh dang, like okay, like I'm sorry, Echo. Like I feel like Echo's real now too, just because of that.
Mm-hmm. That's a fair point. It really is subconscious. It's not like I'm like, trying to be like cool and edgy or whatever. It's just the way it is.
Heck, that's always come across to me, at least.
I think that's why I enjoyed writing a campaign so much. Because it was a little scary. It was a little overwhelming because it was like turning on a faucet and the knob broke off. Like I started writing it and it was just like, oh my God, like just the world was creating itself and these people were just existing and like all of them had their own things and I just couldn't shut it off for a little while. Which was admittedly like pretty scary. It was actually a pretty scary thing. But I am learning to kind of control and focus that better. But Echo is like, man, I don't think I've ever had a character that I'm playing as fleshed out as Echo, as far as like he has a full personality. Like it's all in there. Whether it's on paper or not. It's, man, I love that boy. I can talk about him all day.
He's a good boy.
He's a good boy.
It shows. It shows. Truly.
Yeah. No, it really does. And honestly, like stuff like that is what makes games great. Like when your players are so invested that they have their characters are real people, and whether that is real in the sense of like you refer to them as real people or they're just very like fleshed out and you make those decisions based on like, well, this is what my character would do, not in like the meme sense of like, well, I'm just playing my character, but like like you are just playing your character. Like, and I don't know, when that happens and when you really see those like strong role-playing decisions, when you see Echo standing there on the bridge, two halflings side by side facing an impossible odds, like you're like, yeah, it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense for these characters. Like, any other
Echo
party.
Echo and Mac have so much love for Vale and Melly. And I think we mentioned this in the post game chat, but we didn't say it obviously to anybody else. But that moment, I think it did come across because Mac said the same thing. Because Michael said the same thing. That when Echo looked at Mac with just that expression that I had described, that was kind of them having this moment of like, they need to get away. We're the only thing between them and the door. So we're going to take as many of them down as we can. And if we can't make it, we're just going to hold them off as long as possible. And then we'll die. So it was just this very real moment between two characters that had only really just started like bonding a little bit more.
They are such an unlikely pair.
They are. And I think that's what works is they're, and this was not like, it's not like we intended this from the beginning. And I think that's what's phenomenal about it is there's this organic growth of they are each other's check and balance. Where Echo was outrageously in the camp of like, we can't kill people. Everybody deserves to have a choice. And Max says, sometimes you don't get to have a choice. Like sometimes you need to do the thing because it's what needs to be done. Regardless of if the other person has a choice. And then they both sort of came in a little bit closer to the other person's perspective.
You're the yin to
but just
Echo is the yin to Max Yang.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a very, very fair, from what I understand, that's a very fair way to put it. Because in that moment too, and up on the platform, I feel like it's just even talking about. I feel like I was there.
Oh my God, I have such a clear. Yeah, I think the map, the way that map was illustrated is so phenomenal.
Moonlit maps
that it completely sparks your creativity. Like your imagination just goes wild. I have such a clear picture of those moments with Mac, trying to find his vantage point behind the statue, Vale and Melly up there while she's, weaving her magic to prepare for somebody coming through the door, and Vale, checking his magic arrow, making sure the edges are sharp and it'll fly true. Echo setting his staff down and then just waiting.
Even just that moment too, like, because from the other side of that coin, just Vale wasn't gonna stay there like that. He was like, we should run. Like this doesn't make sense. We really need to run. But that's not what everybody wants to do. And I think Melly felt the same way. If I think so. But there was that moment where she's like, I think we need to run. And so I tried to talk to you, Vale tried to talk to Echo, and it was just like, nope, he's decided for us.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like it was that, but at that point in time,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, but at that point in time, like from Vale's perspective, because how many times do you see in our player chat, one of us, and I'll just use me as an example, well, I want to do such and such, but Vale wants to do this. Like how many times will each say something that way?
Yeah, that makes interesting decisions. I'll give some insight into Echo's decision, and I think Mac was on board. It wasn't about like, we got to fight these guys, although Mac, I think, may have had a little bit of stake in that. Like if Freeman's on the other side of this door, this might be the last chance I have to do something about it. But for Echo, it was, he's right outside the door. We've spent too long thinking about this. We're never going to outrun him. If I can buy them a minute, I have to buy them a minute. So his plan was, I'll fight them as long as it takes for Vale and Melly to decide they need to leave. And, they can do that. They can get away safely.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that this turned into Ancient Relics and Talkie Religions.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is the name of our...
Oh my gosh. I feel like that needs to be a thing.
Yeah, I'm down.
I mean, that's not a bad idea, because we always chat after the show anyway. So even if it's like 15, 20 minutes, it's like, hey, head on over to J&J if you guys want to be a part of the post-game talk. Ancient Relics and Talkie Religions.
That's not a bad move, Evan.
Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, there's something very like, I do want to do that and I don't, because I think the easy content pitfall to fall into is everything has to be content. But there's something to be said about after the show is over and we all have our intimate moment of like, we all just like unload and talk about how excited we are for the next week.
It's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Something to consider, because, I'll just say it. Once the veil has been withdrawn. Okay. Thank you, Evan. It's like I was ready.
Stream Deck, baby.
I love like just the slight move.
It's like I'm used to Jake by now. That's just how it goes.
The drummer fell asleep.
Yeah.
I think I prefer drummer at the wrong gig, but that's just me.
Boy.
I think the everything is content thing is a really good point. I think a lot of people fall into that now, with just like when they might even be having like a business meeting, and they'd be like, "Oh, well, people might want to see this. Let's just record that." And like, I just wonder how many real conversations and real moments are lost because we're turning it into content instead. And I used to even feel that way with like D&D too. And I don't know if I feel that way anymore. Maybe it's slightly to an extent, but like when we first started doing like some games with the intention of like recording them or anything like that, like I'm just thinking like just almost like it muddies the experience or something, where I'm just like, it's just, but
I get that. I do.
I feel like at least this game, though, it does still feel honest. But to take that chat afterwards, like, I don't know, like, how many things that are said, like, would still be said? That's what I think about.
Yeah, maybe just once in a while we'll do something like this. Just once in a while.
Yeah, Skelly made the exact same point, which is, you know, it could break the movie magic. Like if we all talk about like what we were really thinking. But I think you're right, and it's funny how even with the production stuff that we're doing, it still feels like just friends playing a game, and that's crazy because it shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because we're streaming to 450 people.
Yeah, that's
Our VOD has it as of this morning. It had 4,100 views.
Yeah.
And those are crazy numbers for D&D. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And yet, like besides the moments where it's like, all right, we're gonna take a quick break. We're just playing the game.
It's so funny.
There's not a ton of times where I'm thinking, oh, this is gonna be a good line for the show. Or like, you know, maybe sometimes, but it's super rare. You know, it's
so funny because when we first started, of course, I'm like, how are we doing? You know, how are we doing with the numbers and all that stuff? And then it was, I don't know what episode it was, probably around 3 or 4, where I just like an hour and a half went by and I was like, oh yeah, we're streaming. And I was like, oh crap, there's like 200 people here. You know, it's like, I just didn't think of it. You know, I just making sure no one's misbehaving in chat by looking over once in a while. It's pretty much the only thing, you know. But Josh, you bring up a really good point because there is something that is just inherently, like we've just talked about, that's just vulnerable about playing Dungeons and Dragons together. And so you want to maintain and protect the purity of what that is and what's being, and sometimes you don't want to know how the sausage is made. I guess it's just not that I can't even think of one time we've even really had anything awful to say for that reference.
Yeah, I can't think of that either. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. But with all this talk about content, I have another question for you, Evan. If you could answer it, why do you make content? Like, what made you want to start doing this and making videos and Twitch and all that kind of stuff? Like,
okay, no, I like that. So that's kind of a tough one to answer because I don't know if I know why I started making content. I think it was just I watched a lot of Game Grumps and a little bit of some of like the solo channels. Like every so often I'd catch like the rare Markiplier video, like whatever like popular one there was at the time. And of course my buddy Johnny, Shady Penguin. And I was like, that looks like so much fun. It really does. And I think I could do that decently well. I think I could do that. That seems like fun and I think I could do it. So I'm going to try. And very minor in the back of my mind was the money part of it, but it wasn't really.
That'd be nice.
Like, yeah, it's like, and if somehow this could turn into something that I could do for a living, like that would be awesome.
Yeah.
And 5 years later, no money to be found.
Just enough to buy some Doge.
No, but to be fair, so I did start. I actually, Michael had asked this question before in the chat, but there was no organic way to bring it up. Michael had asked when I started streaming, and what's really funny about that is that my Twitch anniversary is Leap Day 2016, February 29th. That was not intentional. So that means I've been streaming for 1 year. February 29th has only passed one time.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, in that time, the first year, we had done YouTube starting in late 2015, if I remember right. I think that's correct. We've done YouTube for a little while, and that was very like, it's super obvious if you had watched Game Grumps back when I was making content. I just thought like this is how you do it. So it like all of the cues were straight up from like Game Grumps stuff, but you know, we put our own like spin on it, and it didn't necessarily feel too much like that. But we had an absolute blast doing it. And then early 2016, we had the thought of I had started noticing that Twitch was more of a thing. And my thought there was, well, editing videos is a lot of work. I wonder if, you know, we could do this and whatever feedback we get would be immediate. So we tried it out. I think I had streamed, if I recall, I think the first stream I did was the game Secret of Evermore, which was an old Super Nintendo RPG, a really weird one. And I played for like 2 or 3 hours, and I had a friend in the chat that was like, why are you streaming this for so long? So like, this is a long time for a stream to go. And I remember thinking that was a weird thing to say, especially because most of my streams ended up being, you know, in the future 2.5 to 3 hours long. But that was the first game that I streamed, and I was like, okay, this was actually really cool because you get the feedback of the YouTube comments, but they're nicer because they're talking to a person and not just like randomly. Like it's harder to be mean on Twitch, but people still obviously find a way to do it. Because...
Never underestimate people, Evan.
Oh no, people are monsters. I'm not saying that's not true.
Yeah, I mean, he's the Zodiac killer.
Exactly.
Right. Right. So like I was mean to a lot of people.
Exactly.
Being the Zodiac killer. But yeah, no, it was just the idea of I can make content and I can talk to people in real time, and it becomes more of just like when you hang out with friends and play games and just chat. And this was before I really knew what that was, because I didn't even really watch a lot of streams. I just sort of understood that this is what it was. And that was a very tempting thing. So we did that for a little while, and I was still doing YouTube. And then after a little while, I was like, I'm literally not getting any views on these videos, and I'm putting hours and hours of work into this. So I think I'm going to just stop doing that, and we'll do this, and it'll be much more fulfilling. And it was. And we had seen some wild growth over the first, well, I'm not even going to say it was right away. It actually took a bit of time. So I would say the first 6 months of us streaming, I think it was about 6 months, we got up to about 50 followers. And then after a couple more months, we hit 100. And on the day that we hit 100, I had never asked John for a shout out, but I didn't understand the etiquette of a lot of things. And I look back at it and I cringe a lot, where I'd be like, oh, I'm going live. And like sometimes I would like tag him in the going live post. And it's a rude thing to do. You shouldn't do that. But I didn't know, because everything was still pretty new and I was pretty green, and he never like complained about it or anything like that. But when I hit 100, and I think it was on my birthday, he actually raided with like a couple hundred people. And it was awesome. So we went from 100 to 200 in like one stream.
Yeah.
And then after that, we just kept shooting up, and it was great. And we were streaming 2 to 3 times a week, and we had a ton of fun, and we were singing, we were dancing, and we just kept it going. And there were some times where I didn't want to do it, but we just did it anyway. And I think what I had done was I did it too hard for too long of an amount of time. But we were committed, you know, like we really wanted to see it grow, and we thought it would succeed. And then life happened, and Aaron got married and wanted to move somewhere where it was easier to exist, because New York is a hole for money to die in. And so he moved away. But then my buddy Evan, one day Aaron wasn't able to make it to a stream because you know, life. And Evan was in the chat while I was playing Sonic Adventure 2. And he said, hey, I know we've only hung out a couple times, but like, this is my favorite game ever. And he didn't say this in the chat. It was like in a whisper on the side. He's like, I'm not trying to be weird or anything. He's also very extroverted. It's very easy for him to just like talk to people and, you know, stuff like that. He's very good about it.
Okay.
But he's like, this might sound weird. And obviously feel free to say no to this. This is not me trying to impose, but like, yeah, come on. And I was like, you know what?
Yes.
Yes. Like, yeah. Like we met at this party, and like I got a read off of immediately, like what kind of a guy he was, and worst case, I was actually still living at my parents' house at the time. It would be very easy for me to say, please leave. And that would be the end of it. Like there were enough people that, like, I don't know what's going to happen if I'm in my parents' house, and like really. So
yeah,
he ended up coming by and streamed, and after a couple of those, I was like, yeah, you know what? I think things will be okay. Even in the post Aaron days, and they were, and we worked really hard. This ended up becoming a biography. I apologize.
No, this is for people to get to know you.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. So we streamed for like a year solid, like same schedule, like 1 or 2 years, and then I hit a point where I was like, I felt like I had just been running for miles and miles and miles and miles and just hadn't stopped. And now because of that, there are these long swaths of time where I won't make any content. And that's not to say that I don't love making content. I do. I think there's just a lot. Maybe it's that I'm associating a lot of things with it. I'm still trying to like parse what it is that makes me not want to stream sometimes. But what always like warms my heart is that whenever I do stream, the same like 10, 15 people always come back, and we always it's like nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
So I've grown this community, and it's not a very big community, but it's good. And I think it's because what was always poured into the content that I've made is love and I guess genuineness. I don't know what the noun conjugation of that would be.
Authenticity.
Authenticity.
Hey.
That's exactly it. Thank you. Yes, just love and authenticity. And however silly it got, those were always the things that I would put into it. I wouldn't like, there was never, hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to itsevbo, and then big fart noise, and then like, let's get this thing going. Cool transition. It was just like, we're gonna play Mario today, and like that's it. We'd sing stupid songs, and that's it. It was fun, and we always tried to make a point to make people feel welcome and that like they belonged there. And we'd come up with these stupid nicknames for people, and like it was just genuine. It was genuine. And I think
that's sorry, continue.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say I think that's what I like about making content, like specifically streaming, but just being able to talk to people and be stupid about it, just be an idiot for a little while, like make a fool of myself, but all for the sake of good fun, and like nobody's taking it seriously. And aside from one sort of stalker, it was a great couple of years.
Oh boy.
Oh my gosh.
We could leave that story somewhere else.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, fair enough. Maybe Nope, I won't say that. Go ahead, Josh.
Okay. I just backtracked before that bombshell. I just want to say that even that small thing of a lot of people see 10 viewers, 7 viewers, 15 viewers, like, and they're like, oh, that's not much, but like, I don't think anyone really understands that unless you have streamed before, and especially if you've streamed and taken a break. That is such a special and like uncommon thing for you to take a break, even for a month, and to come back and have even 3/4 of the people who from your core group be there. And I think that just shows that when you say that your stream was about love and authenticity and being genuine, like that's true. Like
It shows.
there's the proof. because a lot of streamers, and I know maybe I'm talking bad about streaming again, which is a soapbox you could always get me on, but a lot of streamers will say that, like, they're about the same thing. Trying to build my community. We're really inclusive, and I just love everybody and all this kind of stuff. Just self-care. Take care of yourself, guys, and like all that kind of stuff. And but it's not real, and it's not really there. But I could say I totally felt like it was. For years, I feel like it is. And just the fact that you have that core group of people that even if you're away for a week, a month, 6 months, like, to come back and be able to hang out like it's like it was just yesterday. That just means it was real.
I completely agree. And Skelly's here in chat right now, Nia, I think Kiefer, who came and followed earlier today. And anytime I have been able to catch your streams and just gotten to know and also integrate into your community, it's been seamless. I've just loved everybody I've met. Like, it's been, Skelly, like, you will always have a special place in our hearts, just showing up all the time and just jumping right in to be a dungeon master. Like, that's just, special. And I think it's a very common thing for a content creator like you. And I think I was definitely a little smaller for sure, but I had a little something that was fun and growing. But I had gone to Mixer for I don't know if it was a year, but it was 6 months, something like that. And then I came back and I just felt like I didn't really know exactly. I was still passionate about my friends, but I wasn't really passionate about any game or specific content, and I didn't really know what to do. So I just, in that way, I felt a little lost. But then once we finally once it was time for this felt like, yeah, this is where my heart is. It's like if the passion for the content itself, not like quite enough. I don't know. I guess I'm just waxing poetic a little bit here, but it's also a little late. We probably need to wrap up. But there's just something about that. A lot of content creators are, I don't know. A lot of content creators face that feeling.
Oh yeah, no, of course.
That
and
burnout.
I think that's what it is that I've been trying to deal with. And it's like, do I actually enjoy making the content, or do I just enjoy talking to these people? And I think where I've landed is that it is a little column A and a little column B. Like, one wouldn't necessarily work without the other, because I wouldn't have met any of these people if it wasn't for making content. Like, I probably never would have. If Aaron and I had not decided to start streaming on Twitch, I probably would have never spoken to you guys. And that's kind of crazy. And I think that that's really all the motivation I need to. I think y'all just made me realize something on accident. I think we just unpacked something important. Because I'm thinking about all the experiences that I could have missed out on in the last year and a half, where I really haven't made any kind of content. It's just something to think about. I don't know. It's like again, going back to Skelly. That the moment where I was talking about this right before we went live, and not to blow you up too much, Skelly, but when Skelly made that highlight reel of my Dark Souls playthrough a year or so ago, of his own free will, just because he wanted to do it, and then all of us were in this call and laughing. It was so powerful. I was it definitely got me really emotional, just being in a room laughing. It's like, this wouldn't have happened. Like, I wouldn't have had this moment, and I wouldn't have known any of these people if it wasn't for this thing. And that's really, it's a really amazing thing. So I think why I went into creating content, and then what I found couldn't be more different. And it's just so, I don't know, serendipitous. Like, it's just this unforeseen good that came from it. I can't be more grateful for.
That sounds like success to me.
I think so. I think so. I think you can measure success in a lot of ways,
Mhm.
and I think the greatest successes are the ones that you don't see coming.
Mhm.
Man, yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. You're absolutely right.
Mhm. When you said that, I like there was a part of me that was just like, I really want to tell him he has succeeded, like, because there's just so many. Yep, there it is. There's just so many different ways that you can measure who you are as a person, and numbers have a measurement to them. So when you look at things like that, it's so easy to get caught up in it. But anyways, we are incredibly blessed to have you here as friends. We are incredibly blessed to have the privilege to make content together and do it on a regular basis, because you have been making content on a regular basis for the last since September. You know,
that's fair. That's totally fair.
You know, and it's just been really cool. So, like Josh always says, make sure you follow itsevbo on all the things. I mean, jeez, like
we're happy that we're able to have a moment of procrastination and writer's block and have it turn into 2 hours of excellent conversation.
Yeah. We were like just having an on over the video, and then we just started bugging him, like we said in the beginning, and I need to just do this.
Just figured I'd send him a message because I thought it'd be funny.
That'd be funny.
Evan, we want to let everyone know where they could find you, and if you have anything that you're doing that you want to shout out, if you want, go for it.
Well, I don't really necessarily have anything to shout out right now. I'm going to be picking up the Blindfolded Dark Souls playthrough hopefully this coming Monday. I think yeah, I mean, we've got that coming up, and Skelly is going to be releasing an incredible
I can't wait
feature length highlight reel of the streams when Aaron was in town, where we played the Mario Brothers 3 No Touch Challenge, which was an absolute blast. Full of songs that are guaranteed to be stuck in your head about beans and marsupial pregnancy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like Sonic's nickname for me should be Clear Blue Easy.
Oh God. And lots of pepperoni as well.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, that's all I really got. I'm itsevbo on most things. Easy enough to find, and that's really it. But these boys, you gotta make sure you're subscribed if you're not already, and hit that bell so you know when new videos come up. Follow them on Twitter, and give them a kiss. Send them a picture of your lips, a close up. Tag them.
Oh God.
Put it up on Twitter.
On that note, I think I'll just say that my name is Tony. Would you like pepperoni on your za?
Means pizza.